Hello everyone, this is Direwolf20 and welcome to episode 2 of Direwolf20's Let's Play series, season 6. I have done a little bit of mining between last episode and this one, got myself a decent amount of loot, and this episode I'd like to start working with the stuff I got and start putting together some new toys and gadgets. So first off, one of the things I have to get taken care of immediately is food. I am starving to death every few minutes and I need to prevent that. So one thing I'd like to check out is a sickle. That's one of the first things I'd like to do. So let's make a couple of them actually, because I'm not sure with Project Red and the new way things might be working, if there's a difference really in terms of the range of the sickle with the different ones. So I decided, you know what, let's just experiment on camera so you guys can see the difference if there is one. There might not be, but we're going to go check it out. Oh, it's getting dark out, so I better make this quick. So what's a sickle do? If those of you who haven't seen this before, well, it clears away large patches of tall grass. One click, and see you later. Cool. Does it take care of leaves as well? Yes, it does. Nice. So if you're looking to, just clear away a bunch of leaves or a bunch of tall grass, a sickle's kind of the best approach to take for that. Now, I'm pretty sure, I'm guessing the only difference between like the ruby sickle and the wooden one is just durability and how long it lasts. That does seem to be the case. So, don't be afraid to go ahead and just use a wooden one if you want to save on resources. Not a big deal. But the ruby one will, of course, last a bit longer. Now, the reason I'm clearing away large paths of grass is basically twofold. One, and oh boy, here comes some zombies. Hooray. Luckily, I have a decent sword to take them out. Oh, brainy zombie from Thaumcraft. Those guys are a little bit nastier. Alright, so the main reason that I'm clearing out large patches of grass is, number one, I don't usually like the way tall grass looks when there's just a ton of it right outside my house. So I usually like to clean it out anyway. But secondly, I want to get myself just that many more seeds and materials for growing wheat and that kind of stuff. So I'm running around cleaning up the grass. And in this biome, there just happens to be tons of it. Cool. The other thing that I did between last episode and this one was upload my world save. It's not available on the FTB launcher just yet, but it is available on my forum thread. So in every video I post, I have a link to my currently active forum thread on the Minecraft forums, and that's kind of where I'll post little bits of information. Like if I write any good computer craft programs during the season, I'll probably go ahead and place that up there so that you guys can download them and get a nice easy link to the paste bin. Spider chasing me, low on health, need to run. But I also uploaded the world save there. Where is my base? I forget. Totally lost. Pretty sure it's back this way. There we are. Yep, I just need to get my bearings from the volcano. I'm off to the right of it. Yeah, so basically what I'm looking for is, the ability to download the world. So a lot of people do like to just grab the world save so they can kind of play along with me. So I gave you the end of episode 1, so I've got like the basic setup, basically what I started with today. A few things in some chests and that stuff, and here comes my death. And then what I tend to do is upload the world every 10 episodes. So at the end of episode 10, I'll go ahead and do the same thing. Upload the world save so you can kind of pick up where I left off. So if you want to play along with me, that's cool. Did I get carrots? No, I thought I saw a carrot. Could have sworn I saw a carrot, but oh well, guess not. Alright, so let's get this stuff all situated back to the way it was. Cool. Alright, so I've got a lot of good stuff now. I've got some seeds. Gonna get more seeds and some barley seeds. Cotton? I might want to plant cotton right now. We'll see what happens. And I also made myself a bucket, so that looks pretty good. And I'll put away these things because I don't really need much of them anymore. Alright, let's go get some water so we can have a nice little farm outside, at least to get started. Typically I like to go with potatoes, but I haven't found any of those yet, obviously. So, bread it'll have to be. And eventually I'll get like a cow farm and that kind of stuff going. We're going to need lots of leather in the future anyway. Alright, so now it's daytime. Where would we like to set up a farm? Hey, creeper. Well, the good news is I have tons of dirt now. So if this is kind of the entrance to my little house that I'm temporarily living in, I'm thinking I might just have my farm right out here. Cool. Clean this up a little. See how nice the sickle is for clearing away leaves, by the way? That's one of like the things that used to annoy me the most, is trying to get rid of leaves. The sickle's perfect for it. Okay. Now what I'd like to do is get myself a nice little infinite water source, just kind of to have anyway. So I'm thinking maybe like right here might be a good spot. And while I'm at it, why don't I check out this other type of bucket that I did find out is available. I went ahead and made an iron bucket, but there is another one out there. It's from a mod that I haven't had a chance to spotlight yet, so I'm not a pro at, but it's called Rubberwood Industrial Craft 2, huh? Oh wow, there must have been some rubber trees sitting around there. That's okay. It is from Plugins for Forestry. And it looks like it's got a little bit of a Christmas theme going on right now. It's labeled as the Christmas bucket, but it's actually a wooden bucket. So you can see here 3 pieces of wood make you a bucket. Neat. And it's got a cool Christmas wrapper theme. I like it. So now that I've got 2 buckets, and I'm assuming that you can't carry hot liquids in this thing, so I wouldn't go trying to pick up lava with this. That's just a guess. Alright, off we go to get some water. I'd also like to try and start building a little bit of a house this episode, but I'm not sure if I'm going to quite get there. It might have to wait a little bit until I've got a little bit more infrastructure and some more stuff set up. We'll see. Okay. And yeah, no, my problem is I sprint everywhere. I'm impatient as I walk around. I get so used to having, like, you know, high-speed boots and all kinds of upgrades, which we'll, of course, see later. Yeah. All right. Let's get our basic farm set up. You know what I might want to make? Nah, I don't have the stuff for it yet, really. But pretty soon I'm going to want to make a sprinkler for out here, just to help speed things along. So if I plopped it down right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, all right, I need another row here. There we go. And I should have my hoe ready. Clearing out some trees. I'll get the rest of that in a moment. Cool. Let's get some seeds here. And probably over here too. Eventually I'll probably wind up having a little bit of, you know, let's get these away. Perfect. That looks good. Gonna go get another hoe and finish this up. I want to have just basically half the farm will be basic, you know, bread seeds like this, and then we'll get a little bit more for my barley and cotton seeds. I'll probably break it up into quarters each. So get a hoe going. All right. Let's get some cotton seeds planted. So remember I told you that cotton seeds can be used to grow cotton. And the good use for cotton is you can basically make wool and string out of it. It'll grow pretty quickly just to get up to its like base height. It kind of works like, what in vanilla Minecraft does it work like? Well, I don't know that works like much in vanilla Minecraft, but basically it'll grow to like a full height, and then it'll need to mature, and then when it's matured, you'll see these cotton little white bulbs on it, and you can right-click it, and it'll just pull the cotton off without actually breaking the plant. It works pretty well. All right, and then the other thing we've got here is barley. So we can see barley seeds grow barley, which you can use to make either barley flour or bread. And barley flour can actually be turned into cake, or you can smelt it to get bread. So you have an option here, basically. You can either smelt your barley flour to get a piece of bread, or you can turn 3 unsmelted barley flour into bread. Not bad. Cool. So we've got a basic farm. Hopefully I'll be able to eat. Maybe die 1 or 2 more times, but them's the breaks. All right, let me start thinking about how I want to start processing my ores. Because typically, as you guys probably know, you are able to double your ores through several different methods with the mods that we're playing with. So, how am I going to go about doing that? Good question. I do have a handful of ores available. I got a little bit of gold, I got a bunch of iron, some silver and lead, and some tin and copper. So I've got a couple basic things, got a decent amount of redstone actually. And you know what? I'm actually going to, I can make it there and back before I die probably. I want to run down here because I told you I won't actually show you doing much mining, but I always like to kind of show this one piece of mining early on. So you can see here's my mining cave. I usually head down to about Y level 10 and then start mining out in just kind of lines. We'll have some more exciting ways to mine very soon, hopefully. And down here, I found my first set of diamonds. Hooray! First diamonds. Nice. Always like to mine those on camera. Alright, so I will be back in just a few minutes once I've died, done maybe a little bit more mining, and then gotten what I need to get to start getting some machines going. See you in a minute. So I was just running around down here in my mining caves. I'm really close to where my base is. That's the stairs that lead up to my base. And remember last episode I came over here and I looked down and there were a couple zombies, so I didn't really poke my head down there too far. Well, look what I found when I came down here. I just came down and saw, oh nice, little lake of lava. Hey, cobblestone, what's that doing there? Let's go in and take a look. Looks like a nice skeleton spawner that I can probably abuse later. And I found a chest with a few nice things in it. Thaumium ingots from Thaumcraft, a page from Mistcraft, and some ender lily seeds from Extra Utilities, another music disc, a saddle, and some tin. Now this is actually really useful stuff that I just got. You're probably saying, like, I don't know what any of these things are. Why would you care about half that stuff, Dyer? Let me show you what ender lily seeds are, because I'm really excited to have gotten them this early in the game. So I just got really lucky with a dungeon chest with 4 of them in there. Let's go upstairs and see what we can do with them. All I gotta do is make it to the top of these stairs. I'll be back in 10 minutes. Alright, outside we go. Looking like it's a little dark out there, but should I sleep through the night? Probably. Just so that I don't run into any enemies out there, because hey, like I said, these ender lily seeds, pretty useful. I don't want to lose them. There we go. Alright, where do I want to place these guys? Probably not too far from here. I'm going to put them like right over here in the corner. This won't be too bad of a spot. We'll light it up out here just a little bit so that at least we don't have like a ton of zombies showing up. Here's a good tip, by the way. Once I get this guy away from my farm, hit F7 on your keyboard and you'll see these awesome lines show up. So what are these lines all about? Basically what it shows you is red and yellow lines. Red lines are where monsters can spawn even during the day. Yellow lines are where monsters can spawn, but only at night. During the daytime, the sun's hitting this spot, so you're not going to get any monster spawns, but at night you will. So anytime you place a torch down, it should get rid of all the yellow lines in a nice area around it. So this helps you make sure that there's no monster spawner abilities anywhere nearby. Cool. I'm going to hide from that skeleton. Nice, right? So do keep in mind this will cause a little bit of frame rate lag on your side, so you know you're not going to want to leave this on all the time. I mean, you know, if you have a fast computer, sure, why not? But it can cause a little bit of frame rate lag while it's doing all the calculations and displaying all those awesome little crosshairs. So good little tip to help you see where monsters can spawn during the day versus at night versus, you know, anytime. All right, now that we've got that done, I'll hit F7 to clear it again, and I'm going to get out my ender lily seeds. I'm just going to plant these guys. Now, ender lily seeds grow better on the end stone, but I obviously haven't been to the end yet, and, you know, can't make any end stone at the moment, so I'm just going to leave them there on dirt. They do take a long time to grow. I think it's like a Minecraft week, so like, you know, 7 Minecraft days for them to grow, but when they do grow, you'll get an ender pearl out of them. So I should have 4 ender pearls come up here in a little bit, and I've also got... Cool. Nice. A little bit of barley. So barley's growing a little bit faster than my wheat, it looks like. That's nice. And I did get, ooh, a bone. Nice. That's going to help me too. I'm going to smelt my barley. So let's take care of that just to get some food going on. Put all these guys in here for now. Wow, I'm out of inventory space already. That's cool. That'll work. So just barley and a crafting table gets you barley flour, and since I know a lot of people are going to yell at me for not using sticks, I'll go ahead and use sticks. There we go. Now everybody should be really happy with me. So we'll smelt that up. So, you know, it's a trade-off. Do you want to cook your bread versus, you know, not having to cook it, not having to use fuel? You know, early game, it's probably really nice to have this bread option coming from 1 barley versus 3. All right, back in just a few minutes after I do a little bit more exploring. There's 1 or 2 things I need to get before I can get started processing these ores. Alright guys, we are back, and I'm ready to make one of the most fundamental components of one of the mods, Applied Energistics, the grindstone. This is kind of your super duper early game way of doubling your ores. It's something you're not going to enjoy doing from very long, so take it from me, you're going to want to swap this out for something better pretty soon. So first off, you're going to need a wooden gear. Pretty easy to make, as you just saw. Then we're going to need some Certus quartz or nether quartz. Nether quartz comes from the nether quartz, and you grind it up into dust. Or Certus quartz dust comes from when you're just mining in the ground, and you'll get the Certus quartz and the Certus quartz dust from the same ore block. Kind of like redstone, but you just get both components when you mine the block. All right. So we're going to need 3 of these guys. And by the way I move things between inventories like this is you can just mouse over it and scroll wheel. I'm pretty sure that's part of NEI now. Pretty cool, right? Alright, so we've got the Certus quartz. We're also going to need 3 smooth stone, so we'll get that cooking up. Boom. And finally, that's about it. Neat. So what else we're going to need, though, is called a wooden crank. Really easy to make, just 5 sticks like that. There we go, wooden crank, and here comes the stone. So you're not going to want to do this grindstone thing for very long. You're going to want to really quickly get beyond this. So what I'm going to do it for is my gold, because while I don't have like a huge supply of gold, like I don't have too little, I can get away, you know, getting past it, but I do have a little bit here, so it's a good time to show you this. So let's get the grindstone going. There we go, grindstone, cool. So nice little trick you guys just saw there. When you open up your NEI and you can see all the recipe for things, you just hit the question mark and it'll put like a ghost copy of everything there so you can see where to place things. But if you have everything in your inventory, you can shift click and it'll automatically place the item for you. Pretty neat, right? So if I were to shift click here, you'll see that it automatically places all my wooden planks in to make sticks. Pretty cool, right? So that's just a good little tip for NEI. All right, so all we got to do with the grindstone is place our gold ore in there, place our wooden crank on top, and hold right click. There we go. Now there's 2 things to note about this. Number 1, you cannot automate this. There's several blocks in the game that can automate right clicks, and I've tried many of them. Back in the day, you used to be able to use computer craft to trick this into spinning, but not anymore. Basically, the author of Applied Energistics algorithm has made it very clear he really wants this to be a manual process, and he doesn't want it automatable. So that's what we've got going on. You got to hold right click. The second thing is that if you continue to right click on the wooden crank when there's nothing in the machine, it will break the crank, so you have to craft a new one. Not that big a deal. Oh, there we go, actually. There's a good example. So we can see our pulverized gold here. All right, it went from 4 gold to 8 pulverized gold. And we can see the sticks broke, so we do have to go over here and make another crank, because I kept clicking it when it was done. If you're a little bit more careful about it, you know, that won't happen. There we go. So yeah, don't right click on it when it's not got anything to do. Okay, so that basically is your very early game ore doubling mechanic. Copper and tin might be something I might actually want to double because I don't have a terribly large amount of that. So it doesn't take too long to do it. I don't know exactly how many rotations it is. I mean, that's 5, 6, 7. maybe 8 rotations. That's what it looks like. So it does take a little bit of a while here, you know, maybe 10 seconds, let's say, per operation. But it's also very boring to sit here and watch, so I'm not going to make you guys see this, okay? But what you can do now then is go ahead and take your pulverized gold and drop it into a furnace, and you'll get 1 ingot for each dust. Don't worry though, there's definitely machines that we're about to make. Hopefully by the end of this episode we'll have a little bit of infrastructure in place so that we don't have to do this manually anymore. So that's basic ore doubling mechanics 101. Alright, let's not do this the manual and boring way any longer. So in your NEI, if you want to come and look at a particular mod, you can click on your item subsets up here, and you can see a bunch of different things listed. Go to the mods list, and you'll see all the mods that you have installed. Shift-click on a mod name, like Thermal Expansion, and you'll see all the blocks and items that are part of that mod. And we're going to use Thermal Expansion to get started, mostly because it's a pretty nice way to start up your game. There's a couple different ways you can get started. There's Industrial Craft as a method. There's several opportunities you can make to just kind of get started and start with your ore doubling, because that's basically what you're going to want to do. It's, brutal enough going down there and mining. You're going to want to double your ores as best as you can. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to start off with Thermal Expansion. So what are we going to need? We're going to need, at the very beginning of this, 2 blocks. We're going to want the Redstone Furnace, which is basically a furnace, and we're going to want a Pulverizer, which is basically just like a grindstone, but automatic, okay? So they don't look like terribly complex recipes. However, there's 2 components that we're going to need to craft this. We're going to need the machine frame, which is iron, glass, and gold. And we're also going to need the redstone reception coil, which is redstone and gold. Okay, those are the machines, but we're also going to need to power these machines, and for that we're going to need dynamos. There's 3 of them, steam dynamos, which run on water and coal, magmatic dynamos, which are much more complicated to make and run on lava, and then finally compression dynamos, also a little bit complex to make, but these guys run on a fuel source, a liquid fuel source like oil or fuel or biogas, stuff we might get into later. So for now, the basic dynamo to make, mostly made out of copper and a little bit of silver, is going to be your steam dynamo. Alright, so let's get started checking out how this all works. So one of the things we needed was glass. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like there's a terribly large amount of sand nearby. Oh, hello, squid. You're probably going to eventually want some ink sacs. So anytime you find squid, trust me, just kill them and get their ink sacs, because you're going to need a decent amount of this stuff as time goes by. And another nice thing with squids, if you kill them, is if you morph into squids, like so, you take on the abilities of the animals that you morph into. And in squid's case, it's to breathe underwater. So look at this. I have no problem breathing underwater. Cool. And I can go mining. Of course, mining is still pretty slow underwater, but what are you going to do? You do want to kind of get all the way to the bottom, and then you'll be all right. Cool. There we go. Nice. The only downside to this ability to breathe underwater as a squid is you cannot breathe above water. So if you do go outside the water, you're going to start seeing air bubbles. I'll show you that in a moment here. Morph is a pretty fun mod. There's a lot of features that it allows. Like I said, it's still kind of a work in progress mod. You want to use your square bracket keys to shift between the different animals and creatures that you've killed. Pretty cool. And then you can morph into them. And it looks really nice too when you morph. In fact, I'll show you now. Let's see. I've got plenty of sand. So first off, getting out of the water. See the air bubbles showing up as I get out? Yeah, watch out. So let's morph. There we go. Now I can breathe again. Cool. Alright, heading back home. Alright, so let's get to crafting, and I'll show you how the shift-click functionality can really, really help you out. You know what? We're going to need some clay. I forgot to get some of that, but that's no big deal. We'll get to it. So first off, we need some redstone. We're going to need a lot of this redstone. There we go. And we're going to need to get ourselves... I know I'm going to need 2 of these redstone reception coils, so I'm going to go ahead and make them. And I'm also going to need 2 of these machine frames, so I'm going to go ahead and make those as well. For the pulverizer, which we want to do to automate this whole breaking down of things, we're going to need a couple flint, a couple copper, and a piston. Not a problem, I don't think. Oh, you know what? I need my iron, which is cooking along here somewhere. I know I cooked up... Oh, you know what? I used all my iron that I cooked. Alright, no big deal. I'm not going to worry too much about this. I'm going to throw this guy into the fire. I only need 1. I know I'm being a little bit wasteful, but that's okay. So you can see how much faster it is to be able to craft by just being able to click, shift click, and get that done. So 2 of those, and we should have ourselves a pulverizer. Nice. Very first machine. I always like it when I get to the stage. Ta-da! Pulverizer. You can see here there's a couple neat pieces of information shown on that Whale tooltip at the top of the screen, like how much RF energy is stored. RF is the redstone flux energy that's part of thermal expansion. It's basically the energy mechanic that is created by the dynamos and used by the machines to do work. So basically most of these machines are going to require a form of energy, and the dynamos are going to create them. So while we're at it, let's get ourselves some copper gears. All right, we're going to need a couple more iron ores. So I have a good amount of iron. I'm not going to worry about grinding it. I'll let that cook up, and you can see I'm also working on getting myself some lead, because we're going to need a little bit of lead in just a moment here. There we go. And let's get ourselves the steam dynamo. We're going to need 2. Well, I don't really need the iron. Let's do this. There's 2 ways to make copper gears, because there's 2 different mods that add them. One way is, as you're seeing here, you make wooden gears and then you make copper like this. Cool. And then for steam dynamo, we're going to need a silver ingot. So let me just grab 1 piece of silver ore here, and I'll smelt that up manually as well without having ground it. Cool. And I think that's all I need for the steam dynamo. Yep. Oh, I need a little bit more copper too. See, this is what I do. Let's get some. And while I'm at it and waiting for that, I'm going to show you guys a nice little trick. Get out this crafting table. One of the things I always hate about vanilla crafting tables is if you leave an item in them and then close the table, it doesn't stay in there. So I'm going to trade this in for a crafting station. This is a Tinker's Construct added mechanic, and it's basically the exact same thing, but you can leave things in the crafting table, and they'll stay in there next time you open up the interface. Nice, right? So let's get that steam dynamo ready to go. We know that we need redstone here, transmission coil here, and these guys. And let's get our 3 copper that we were cooking up while I showed you that. Steam dynamo. Perfect. All right. To make this dynamo work, we're going to need a little bit of water, like so. And where do we want this dynamo to sit? I'm thinking back here in this wall area. This will probably do. Now we're probably going to want a few more of these dynamos. Let's get this set up. If I place it right here, we can see the steam dynamo. It doesn't have any energy stored right now, but if we throw some water in there by right-clicking on it with a water bucket, and then we're going to need something to power it. I'm going to go ahead and get some coal. There we go. Immediately it'll turn on and start producing steam. Now, if you want to control this with redstone, one of the features of thermal expansion is these little tabs here. You can control it. So if I set it to high, it requires a high redstone signal, meaning it'll operate when it's receiving a redstone signal. By default, though, it's on low, which means it'll operate when receiving a low redstone signal. In terms, it's off. If you apply a redstone signal, it'll actually go ahead and flip itself off. Okay, and then ignore redstone altogether means exactly how it sounds. You can also see here how much power it's outputting, the maximum power it's available to output, and the amount of energy currently stored in this device. To transmit our energy, we're going to need leadstone energy conduits. There's several tiers of this. If you hold shift, you'll see some details about how much they transfer at a time. You can see it gets really high, like that one, pretty good. What we're going to do is just the basic leadstone one, though. So we can get a few of these, like so. Just one ought to do. One set at least, that is. There we go. The only problem is my steam dynamo isn't facing that current, is it? No, that's unfortunate. It's why we aren't getting any power over here. So we're going to need a hammer to help us rotate this. A crescent hammer. There it is. Requires a little bit of iron and some silver. Let me get that cooked up. So now that I've made myself a crescent hammer, I can come over to my steam dynamo and rotate it like so, and it'll automatically face the leadstone conduit. Now we can see the internal RF is being drained from the internal buffer of the steam dynamo, and it's building up inside the pulverizer. And when we look at it, Whale is telling us what our RF setting is on the pulverizer. So we can see we have a lot of pulverizer energy stored up. Nice, it's fully charged. And this thing's going to continue to build up its internal buffer now that it's fully charged the machine over there. Now when we run out of water, which is about to happen here, we're going to see this thing shut down. Let's see what happens. So we can see the water's gone and the steam's quickly dropping. And while the steam is still producing RF, it's going to very shortly, cut out on us. There we go, out of water. Let's go get some new water, just so we're prepared for when we want to fill it back up. It'll still produce a little bit more steam just as it's using up the last bit of water in its buffer, but we should see it rapidly drop pretty soon here. Yeah, you can see this thing is still burning. So we can see now our power output's getting pretty low, but I'm going to go ahead and throw more water in there, and it's going to start draining that water again. Cool. Now let's put this pulverizer to use. Grab ourselves gold, for example, and just drop it in there. And we'll see the gold rapidly and automatically turn into gold dust. Nice. That's what I'm talking about. Hey, let me go get some clay so that I can also get some smelting going on. Oh, it's night. I better sleep. Alright guys, now normally I like to keep my videos right around 30 minutes, but I also don't like to wrap up right in the middle of something, especially when I'm pretty close to finishing it. So I'm going to craft this Redstone Furnace off camera, and then come back to show you it implemented, and then we're going to have to wrap up the episode. Alright guys, we're back, like I said, and I've crafted my Redstone Furnace. Now there's two things we're going to need to do. First off, we're going to give our Redstone Furnace power, and what that's going to do is start building up its internal buffer, and at the same time, my steam dynamo here, which apparently needs a little bit more water, had it ready for it, is draining out that internal buffer that it was storing. But don't worry, it'll continue to boost power for us. Okay, now I can take some of the dusts that I pulverized, like for example my pulverized gold, throw it in there, and it's going to go ahead and do its thing and smelt the gold for me. The nice thing about this is you're not going to waste much by way of power, and the really good thing about these dynamos is they'll kind of self-tune. The more internal buffer there is, the lower the power output and the slower it'll be using up this coal. So while it won't completely stop using it, it will kind of self-regulate and slow itself down a bit so that it doesn't burn through the coal quite as fast when it's got nowhere to send the energy. Neat, right? So that's a pretty cool mechanic. And the final thing I'll show you before we wrap up the episode is how convenient it is to be able to hook up these inventories to each other. So let's take this iron, for example. One of the other tabs that you can see here, aside from the energy usage tab, which you can see at max, this pulverizer can use 40 redstone flux per tick. Quite a good amount of energy. The redstone furnace uses 20 redstone flux per tick, and this dynamo at max can produce 40. So one dynamo isn't quite enough to power both machines, not at full speed anyway. Don't worry, we'll upgrade this later. But for now, I'm going to show you the configuration tab. You can set which side of the block is affected by which inventory slot here. So for example, if I make the top side of the block blue, then anything that's piped into or dropped into the top of this pulverizer is going to go into the blue slot. Okay, and one thing I'm going to do is set the right side of the pulverizer to be orange, which means these inventories here are going to output to the right side. Typically, blue means input and orange means output. Or these slots here are your output and this slot here is your input. Pretty cool, right? Now with the redstone furnace, I'm going to say the left side of the furnace is your input and the right side is your output. Now what will happen is when I put a piece of iron ore, for example, in there, when it pulverizes it, the iron ore dust is immediately going to be output on the right side, and the furnace is going to accept input on the left side, and it'll automatically transfer that pulverized iron into the redstone furnace. Pretty cool, right? Now, when we come back next episode, we'll set up an automated way to drop all our ores into this pulverizer automatically and store all the output in an adjacent chest. However, for now, we're already past the wrapping up point, so Direwolf 20 has to sign off. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Thank you for watching, and take it easy!